The Treasurer's Office is the office that would be able to look at the future potential and maximize the future potential of our community, of our state. And this office requires two important skills. One is the values, which is critical for us, and I'll talk a little bit about that. And also the second is the capacity for that individual to be able to give us the returns, be able to beat the market, be able to give us the best return for our investments. But when we talk about values, the values are so important. We are living in a very challenging time in our country and the world, but specifically in our state as well. We have to recognize that the values require us to be able to make sure that our future is protected. And our future is protected, but also our investments are focusing on the working families. The investments are focusing on our climate. Our investments are focusing on a sustainable future. And I think that's the important part that we have to have. And those values require us to invest in those values. If we do not invest in those values, we will not be able to get the return and a sustainable society that we are all striving for. And that is why I truly believe it is very important to think through and identify the best person to represent those values with the right skills to be able to do it. And ladies and gentlemen, we have that person. I'm so proud to say, and I'm so proud to stand with Representative Ann Hughes and as well as Representative Wood with us today with me, and to introduce to you Dita Bhargava, the next treasurer for the state of Connecticut. Thank you.
Woo! Good morning. Thank you, Senator Anwar, for those kind words, and thank you, representatives, for being here, Wood and Hughes, for always supporting me and being here today. I'm running for state treasurer because I believe in Connecticut and have a strong desire to give back to my communities, and that was born out of the way that I was raised. As a daughter of a single immigrant mom of 3, I know what it's like to struggle. My mother faced challenges in providing my sisters and I with basic needs, but she was the best parent that I could ask for. She taught us 3 things: work hard, dream big, and never forget where we came from. Growing up in Canada, I feel incredibly fortunate that I had access to a good education, healthcare, and employment opportunities, despite my economic circumstances. Now I want to fight to empower others with those same opportunities. My campaign is based on truth, substance, and policies. In today's politics, it is easy to forget that campaigns are meant to be vehicles for idea exchange. It's about candidates presenting contrasting visions for the future and how they plan to get there. Then, based on their experience and propositions, the electorate chooses a winner. That is what today is about, ideas. Today, I am unveiling my policy platform because the people of Connecticut deserve to know that the person running to invest their money knows exactly what they plan to do with it. There's often a lot of noise during a campaign, and a lot of it will have nothing to do with the actual job of state treasurer. But I'm committed to ensuring we do not stray away from what is important, maximizing the state's treasury's impact on Connecticut residents, fiscally and socially. This policy booklet covers many facets of the treasurer's responsibilities, from maximizing return on investments to how I plan to partner with other branches of government, the private sector, and grassroots organizations to expand the treasury's policy and social initiatives without increasing the cost to the state. Loan forgiveness, education, savings, financial literacy, and social responsible investments are essential to our economy and quality of life. Of course, the primary responsibility of the treasurer is to actively manage over $44 billion pension portfolio for our state workers and our teachers. The right experience is essential for this highly specialized job, especially given the current market paradigm. Our economy has gone from a very low interest rate environment for over a decade to inflation rates not seen since the 1980s. At the beginning of the year, the pension portfolio was over 70% invested in stocks and bonds. With equities and fixed income returns down significantly this year, it's safe to assume the portfolio suffers concerning losses. We must quickly diversify the pension portfolio into inflation-protected securities like commodities, real estate, private equity, and tips. I will also look to negotiate fees down and lower costs in passive investment through index funds where markets are most efficient. Every dime that we save in fees is one more in our retirees' pockets. Over the 25 years of my finance career, I have advised and invested for pension asset manager clients through many economic cycles. I'm ready on day one to do everything necessary to proactively protect our retiree savings and keep our state on a fiscally healthy path. Not only am I the best suited candidate to maximize returns, but I also have a strong commitment to building a good, diverse workplace environment. I learned a lot during my time in the financial sector. I witnessed careless investing and at times dealt with the toxic culture that comes with being one of the only brown women in a world dominated by men. I often say if there were more women in the investment world, we might have avoided the financial crisis that devastated the lives of so many people. I'm committed to building a strong, diverse team at the Treasury. I learned from my experiences how we could do better as investors. The Connecticut State Treasurer yields tremendous power when it comes to investing, and I plan to use that power to bring major banks and corporations to the table and demand change. And I will do this not at the risk of our investments, but in a way that will make our portfolio even stronger. This building, this office, can majorly impact issues ranging from the opioid crisis, economic inequality, racism, sexism, pay equity, climate change, and so much more. Responsible investing is something I've been thinking about my entire career. However, when I lost my son to a drug overdose in 2018 and became more active in the fight against Big Pharma, it became clear how these two worlds should work together. So as the next treasurer, I will join forces with other treasurers across the country to force corporations to exhibit better social governance. This is not only the right thing to do, but as a fiduciary of the funds, it would be prudent to shy away from investing in companies that are a liability. We can impact the day-to-day lives of people and whole communities through responsible investing, and I am ready to work tirelessly to do just that as the next state treasurer. 10 days ago, and in just 2 months, I was the first primary candidate to raise the funds needed to qualify for public financing. The brilliance of the Citizens Election Program is that it allows any candidate to qualify for public finance and then spend all their time doing what is most important, connecting with voters. Over the next many weeks, I will be spending all my time traveling the state to hear from the people of Connecticut and share my vision for our future. I will also continue to send out policy emails, videos, and evolving ideas as I understand the concerns of the people that I meet. Most important in a political race is that voters have a chance to be educated on the candidates, their ideas, and their experience. To that extent, I hope the other candidates in this race also release detailed plans on their vision and agree to debate the issues. I look forward to August 9th to earning the Democratic nomination for state treasurer and then winning the election in November. And I can't wait to serve the people of our great state of Connecticut as the next treasurer. Thank you so much. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Yeah, one of the issues that came up 4 years ago, and I imagine it might come up in the general election campaign, is, you know, the treasurer is the sole fiduciary. The treasurer will decide how things are invested. The Republican candidate thought that last time out that wasn't necessarily the best arrangement. What's your position on that?
Look, I think it's a debatable question, and certainly one that I'm happy to engage in conversations about. I do think there are some benefits to thinking about how we share those responsibilities, but The treasurer does have an advisory committee. You know, there are many people who are involved in the decisions of those investments. That being said, it is very important as a sole fiduciary that the person who is the treasurer understands those recommendations that are being made to her. I will give you a little background on our performance over the last 5 to 10 years in the Treasury, which had been good, but suboptimal in terms of they have not met the national average returns. They have, over the years, over a 10-year period actually, underperformed by about almost 1%. But when you compound that underperformance, that adds up to an extra $4.2 billion that we could have had in the state pension. This is real money. It's almost 10% of what the state pension has right now. And so my first question as treasurer would be, why are we underperforming? Who are our managers? Are we paying too many fees? Every dollar that we can save, again, in fees or better performance is one more dollar in the pockets of the Treasury. It's one more way to keep our state on a fiscally healthy path.
Do you say you have been approved at this point for the campaign fund?
I have submitted the paperwork. I have not been approved, but we finished our fundraising just about a week ago.
Okay. Obviously, at convention, the party picked somebody else. What's your plan to kind of overcome that? It's sort of an uphill battle, right?
No, it's not an uphill battle at all. So you might know that I ran 4 years ago. I was not the Democratic endorsed candidate then, but I did end up getting over 43% of the vote from line B, almost twice as much as anybody else on that line, and almost 90,000 votes across the state. And I am the only candidate in the primary election that has ran a statewide campaign before. So I think that experience and the fact that I did fairly well given the dynamics of last time, I was not on Governor Lamont's line and he was a great candidate. I do think that this time around people will remember that they voted for me, remember why they voted for me. I had hundreds and hundreds of people reach out to me after the election saying, please don't go away, please run again. Didn't expect to do it so quickly for this race, but I'm very confident. First of all, I'm the first to have raised that money. That is already a sign that the people of Connecticut are supporting my race. They are supporting me because they know I have the most relevant experience. This is a highly specialized job, and this is a very concerning, volatile economic time. So it's more important than ever to have somebody in there with the right experience to guide that pension portfolio.
Can you elaborate on how you see the office impacting these larger issues like racial justice, climate?
Absolutely. So the Treasury is invested in many big corporations. So we have a seat at the table. And thankfully, over the last 4 years, ESG has become a notion that people follow, #ESG. And I'm very thankful about that. But I have done a study actually as to how ESG funds have performed versus the S&P, for instance. And over the last 2 years, I believe in 2021 and 2020, they outperformed. So that kind of knocks the argument that some make, well, we have to do what's best for the investment. I, in my heart, believe that investing in socially good companies is a longer-term, better outcome, not only socially but also through return. But now I'm seeing data that actually backs that. I'm very much a data-driven person. In fact, I was endorsed by an organization called 314 Action that only endorses STEM candidates because they believe that being more data-driven makes for better leaders that make decisions based on facts. So, back to your question, yes, the Treasury has a lot of influence in making sure that those companies are behaving responsibly. In the case of Purdue Pharma, and I've gone after them hard through grassroots organizations, I've partnered with Attorney General Tong to pressure attorneys general to go after them hard. If the Treasury was invested in Purdue Pharma, that they're bankrupt, that would have been a bad investment. So we want to make sure we use that seat at the table. And again, I will band with other treasurers across the country. That's trillions of dollars of investments, and we would get them where it matters to them most, which is their bottom line money, which is based on those investments.
So it would be similar to what we saw with the treasurer earlier this year, divesting from any ties with Russia or things like that. But
Yes.
you do it on a much broader scale.
Exactly, much broader basis. And my first action would be is to use that seat at the table and try and change their behavior. Because if we just say we're just going to walk away, we lose our ability to influence them. So I would always want to make sure that I'm trying everything possible with other treasurers across the country to make sure we are actually enacting change in those companies so that society benefits from it rather than just walking away. And if they don't comply with those changes that we demand, then we walk away, because not only are they doing bad to society, they make for a risky investment.
And the idea would be to reinvest those funds in places that have
Absolutely. Yes, better invest those funds in places that have better social governance.
And the infrastructure bank. I don't think you went over that in your...
Yeah, so I've been talking about this for several years, and the benefit of an infrastructure bank, which many states have, is to leverage state capital through the private sector and expand our infrastructure building, our footprint, and it's worked in countries and in other states across the world, and I think it's an idea that has been proposed in the legislature. Did not pass, but I definitely think it's worth looking at, because the more that we can invest in our infrastructure, in our schools, what out of our portfolio we can divert to in-state investments. But I am very, very committed to the idea of doing that, because I think Connecticut has some great opportunities in home building, especially in lower income communities, in expanding schools, and infrastructure projects. I think there's a tremendous amount of opportunity. And it kind of goes in line with the whole let's diversify away from equities and bonds, which probably are not going to see the type of returns we've seen over the last 12 years, and into real estate, into infrastructure, into more inflation-protected assets. So this would be the particular focus that I would like to see for this in-state investment, is those type of inflation-protected in-state projects.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for joining. Thank you, everyone, for being here. My policies are online. My phone number and my email address are there. If you have any follow-up questions at any point, please feel free to reach out. This is, again, all about idea exchange.